What's good, Skate Athletics fam? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 of my favorite plyometric exercises that I use with athletes to improve their overall athleticism, especially their vertical jump. Before we begin, I must say these exercises are very challenging, and they're not for individuals who are brand new to working out. If you haven't trained before, I highly recommend building a solid foundation of strength before you begin any plyometric exercises. Check out these 2 videos for some examples of where you may want to begin. Also, these exercises are not all of a sudden going to improve your pop so much that you're going to be popping like Tiago. Skill mastery on the board is of course component number 1 when it comes to increasing your pop. But these exercises are here to give you a little push in the right direction. The first exercise I want to show you are called depth jumps. This exercise is commonly used to train an athlete's ability to absorb force, then utilize that resulting stored elastic energy to generate a very explosive concentric movement, also known as the stretch-shortening cycle. So why would this exercise be important for skateboarders? Well, every time you go to pop a trick, without knowing it, your body goes through that stretch-shortening cycle. As you bend down to pop a trick, a rapid stretch is placed on your quadriceps muscles. The muscle spindles inside of your muscles will detect that change of muscle length and respond by sending a signal to the spinal cord. The motor neurons associated with muscle contractions are then activated and tell your quads to contract powerfully. Having a well-developed stretch-shortening cycle is definitely something that's going to help your pop over time. Remember, it allows you to use the strength from your muscles, but also that stored elastic energy from the eccentric phase. And a loss of this elastic energy will definitely dampen your vertical jump and pop. We've definitely all seen this before. A smooth, controlled ollie will definitely pop much higher than one with deficiencies in the preparation phase. So there are a couple different ways you can perform depth jumps. If you're moderately athletic and you've been doing some plyometric training for at least like 3 to 6 months now, let's start with an 18 to 24 inch box. If you're brand new to plyometrics, but you've built that foundation of strength, let's start with something maybe around 12 to 18 inches, or even something smaller. Start on top of the box with your hands either above your head or straight out in front of you. Hang your dominant foot just off the edge of the box like so. Step off, land with the majority of your body weight through the balls of your feet, contacting them both at the same time. Hinge your hips back as your chest aggressively comes forward and your arms swing back. Be sure to create what I call the power position. Now drive through the balls of your feet and jump as high as you possibly can, propelling your arms up. Prepare yourself for a soft landing, then take 30 to 90 seconds of rest between jumps, then reset. While you do these, I want you to focus on the speed of your movement. Treat this as a velocity-emphasized exercise that's going to help you improve the speed and control of your pop. To do this, let's start with a couple weeks of body weight, then work into some light dumbbells. Obviously the form's going to change a little bit when you incorporate those dumbbells. You'll no longer be adding the momentum of the arm swing. You can start with maybe 5 pounds total and work your way up to about 30 pounds max. For depth jumps, I recommend doing about 3 to 5 sets with about 3 to 5 reps and taking about 2 to 3 minutes of rest in between each set. And remember, definitely take rest in between jumps if you need it. We really need you going at 100% so we can achieve max velocity. The next exercise I recommend incorporating in your workouts is the barbell squat jump. Not only will this exercise help train your stretch shortening cycle, but now we'll be able to utilize heavier loads, which will create a very important power adaptation. The barbell squat jump is going to serve as our peak power exercise, and you'll find it directly in the middtle of that speed strength / strength speed portion of the force velocity curve. So the main goal of this exercise is to produce as much concentric vertical force as possible in the shortest period of time. I'm assuming most of you don't have a barbell velocity tracker, so we're really gonna have to feel for the right load. Peak power output is gonna vary for each individual, but for the barbell squat jump, it's going to be roughly in the range of 30 to 80% of your back squat 1 rep max. And for most skaters, I'm going to predict that it's going to be in the lower range, roughly about 30 to 60%, unless you've been doing a lot of powerlifting or Olympic weightlifting for the last 6 months. So when first starting out, let's use roughly 30 to 40% of your back squat 1 rep max and work your way up to 50 to 60. Just remember, it's extremely important to be trying to move that load as fast as possible. If the velocity of the movement slows down too much, we're essentially just doing a suboptimal strength exercise, which isn't bad, it's just not what we're going for. To start, unload the bar from the rack and establish a comfortable squat stance. Lock that bar to our body, pull down on the bar, depress and retract your shoulders, and brace your abs before we begin. Squat down to about quarter to half depth, then explode out of that bottom position as fast as possible. Land on the balls of your feet using a quarter squat to receive the force, reset your stance, and repeat. Keep in mind all the proper movement mechanics we have discussed in the past on this channel. To create force properly, remember, you have to hinge your hips back, externally rotate those femurs and abduct them in order to keep that pelvis in a neutral position so you can actually use the correct muscles. When performing the squat jump, try not to slow down the eccentric portion of your squat. If you think accelerate on the way down, we're going to create much more elastic force, which once again, we'll be able to utilize to our advantage on the way up. Think about it like this. If you get good at producing power under 50% of your back squat 1 rep max, imagine how easy it's going to feel when you're just on your board. Try 4 to 6 sets of the squat jump with about 3 to 5 reps and take about 2 to 3 minutes once again of rest in between each set. Take your full rest, and just like last exercise, if you need to rest in between each rep, that's all good. Just re-rack the weight, take a second, and when you're ready, get back into it. With plyometrics, really just remember, fatigue is the enemy of power. All right, last but not least, we have the dumbbell single leg seated vertical jump. This exercise is going to work more towards that strength speed / pure force end of the force velocity curve. Single leg jumps, especially single leg seated jumps, come with high forces due to that long ground contact time. And to add to that, we'll be able to use relatively heavy loads because there's no eccentric portion of this movement. However, because this is a single leg movement, it's going to be kind of hard to prescribe a certain percentage to work off of. So we're going to have to listen to our body once again. While doing this exercise, I want you to feel like you're stuck in the mud trying to get out of that bottom position. I want you to try to accelerate as fast as possible in the vertical direction, but the load and the angle of which we're using and jumping from is going to make this very difficult. Unlike the other exercises, I'm cool if you're moving a little slower during this one to focus on that force that we're creating. Start with maybe 10 to 20 pounds and work your way up to a pretty heavy load. Start in an upright seated position, lean back as you bring your jumping leg off the ground. Swing your chest forward, drive your foot into the ground, contact with the ball of your foot, then drive the ground away from you, trying to jump as high as possible. Prepare to land with both feet, absorb the force, sit down and repeat. Perform about 3 to 5 sets with about 3 to 5 reps on each side, giving yourself once again about 3 to 5 minutes in between each set. I'd recommend alternate jumping between each leg just so you get a little extra rest, just so you can push yourself a little harder. Alright fam, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and don't forget to let me know how these exercises go. Last thing, please do me a quick favor and just hit that like button down below, and of course, subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you guys next time on Skate Athletics.